should talk about that.
I don't know why, because I use Zoom all the time. Jump on Teams. It's just...
How's everyone doing post-turkey coma?
Oh, not too bad. Basically, delightful burger.
The what?
Delightful burgies. Yes, delightful. I've been known in a television set for probably 7 or 8 years. And the good folks at Vimeo have decided, well, they up and bought a bunch of LG channels and they're making their own OLED TV sets. And so I bought one. I went from a 37-inch LCD to a 55-inch OLED. Wow, there's just nothing like a picture on an OLED. It just isn't.
Gotcha. So in your case, the broken is for good reason.
Yes. I can't complain. The thing is normally, the cheapest LG you can find is typically made at about $13-$14. This thing is $12.99, and they were selling, that's Best Buy, many people doing it, they're selling it for $8.99. $400 off. So,
you pulled the trigger.
I decided to take the plunge. Yes, indeed. And my God, this thing's gorgeous.
That's awesome.
The only thing I dislike about it is that the actual screen is glossy as opposed to a matte finish like the old one was. So you get reflections from the window and stuff like that. But small price to pay.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning, Christian.
We are faded over and officially launching episode 37 of the Microsoft Community Office Hours. And you've got there, I think this is the most stable group, not personality-wise. There's no claims about that. But as far as regulars to this broadcast, myself, Mike Nelson, Hal Hostetler, and Sean McDonough. So welcome, everybody. Now, Sherry will be here the next couple weeks, has doing training, so she can't make it. I don't know if Sharon will drop in, but Sherry Oswald, but she responded in email with some input to some of the questions. So I'll share that and throw out some props to her. And Eric will be late. I think he needs at least another 30 minutes to work on his hair.
It's gotta be.
That's the only legit answer.
Those that still have it.
Well,
I once had hair, now I have glare. By the pain moonlight, I can blind you at night.
Well, for those that are watching, so we're live streaming in a couple different locations, out on Facebook, of course, out out on LinkedIn, Twitter, via Periscope, and also on YouTube, the Collab Talk channel. If you have questions, you can post in one of those places where you're watching us. I'm going to share this out to a couple groups. And with that, any homework from last week? Any carryovers?
Not for me.
Right, you had some, Christian.
2 weeks ago. I shared it last week.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes, you did.
Although I've been slacking on doing the blog post on that topic, but I actually have it in the queue for later today, so I'm hoping to push it live tomorrow. Other news, as I mentioned to Mike, this is my wedding anniversary today, so it's the
Congratulations.
the big 30, which is just
Was
crazy.
it today? Was it yesterday or today?
Today,
Oh,
the 30th, 30 years on the 30th. Yeah, no, I actually, it's funny, my wife just got back, was 6 weeks in Minnesota staying with my daughter and playing with the grandchild, and she actually delayed since my youngest got COVID, so she was supposed to come back earlier, and it was, so he stayed upstairs, I stayed downstairs, I tested negative. But so she just gets back, and she was scheduled for work and goes in this morning, and they sent her home. They're like, "You just traveled out of state." Like, nope. You got to spend some time, and she's going to later this week go get tested before she can get back to work. And she's like, or I could just take the 14 days off. Yeah. So
Enjoy the 2-week quarantine.
hopefully everybody is being safe out there and healthy. But if you've got questions, want to send them in to us, again, you can reach us out on one of those community connections. We've got people watch us on Facebook and post your questions there. Or you can email us at officehours@collabtalk.com. Anything else happen in the technology sphere that you guys want to talk about before we jump into question number 1?
I got a notice that they have now enabled. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that whole threat management in 365, where they do the attack simulation.
That's the flight simulator app with that attack simulation. I'm just thinking it would make it much more fun if that was the interface. If you're having to go in there to shut down malicious attacks on your system via some kind of light aircraft with heavy firepower. I don't know. I'm just saying. Virtually.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
But actually, it was always part of E5 and an E5 sub, and it was something where it would actually go through and it would give you a simulation of an attack in 365, so you could actually look at the attack, figure out how to how it happens, how it works, how to mitigate it, all that kind of fun stuff. And now they've opened it up to E3s, so it's a preview for E3s. The only problem is that I opened up mine this morning and I don't see that option, even though it says it's in public preview and I've got the preview options enabled on my sub. So I don't know. I'm just wondering if you guys see that link there. If you see the same thing, if you click the link on the very bottom of that, pull that link off of there.
I was just going to
This
throw in
link
my
right
joke,
there.
Mike, of have you tried turning it off and on again? But
Yeah, no. This link right here. So I don't know if any of you guys are logged into your stuff. If you could try that link right there, and just tell me if that works for you. I mean, not you guys are Office guys, so you got E5s, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I got E3, and that's I'm just wondering if anybody has an E3, they can check it out.
Tax simulation training preview. Yeah, I mean, it shows up on my E5.
Okay.
yeah, we'll have to we'll wait for some other feedback. I shared the link, and we'll have it in the blog post as well.
Yep.
But I don't see the link that lets me launch an attack on Mike.
Yeah. Well, it's not that hard to do if you search GitHub. There's quite a bit of people out there that even put out their own their own black hat stuff. So
Yeah, I would just call Liam.
No, that's right. Man, for those that don't know, and maybe Liam will drop in as well, but it was one of my favorite all-time presentations was seeing Liam Cleary. If you could go search for this and find a couple recordings, but so you think you can hack SharePoint? Those were very entertaining to do in person because each time he would present, he would warn, and he lives in Northern Virginia, and so he works with a lot of government groups and
Or so he claims.
correct. Well, yeah, or tries to subvert government groups. Is that what you're saying? No, but so I was at a SharePoint Fest DC. So there's the convention center downtown DC, and had a pretty full room. And he said, I want everybody. It's like, if I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff. I'm not breaking any laws or any rules. I'm showing you what's publicly accessible. Like if I took the next step and did something with it, even captured a screenshot, that could be against the law. But these are sites that should be secure that are not. And I'm going to show you some of these holes. He says, but let me tell you, if you see a site that you are a member of, that's your site, please do not say anything. And so I've seen him present that session 3 times. All 3 times, somebody in the audience did a variation of, that's my site,
Exactly.
And he would, one time in DC, the first time I did this, he paused, he just stood up, walked over to the woman, walked her out back. They talked for a minute, and then he came back in and continued the presentation, moved on to another site. So, love that.
He is very careful, and he does goes to great pains to point out that he simply walks up to the door. He's not going through it. He's certainly not forcing anything, but yes, there is a very fine line to walk, and he does a good job of walking it so that he stays free.
Yes. Well, let's jump in with question number 1. Michael asks, today I had a phone call with a colleague, and after we hung up, he got an email with a full transcript sent by me. I did not initiate this, and this is talking about in Teams. I did not want this. We talked about some confidential topics, and I'm really mad about Teams creating a transcript and sending it around. Only my colleague got this. I had no clue about this until he called me and forwarded it to me. Where can I see who else gets transcripts of Teams phone calls? How can I prevent this to happen again? I'm really worried whether Teams is the right tool to telephone colleagues. So...
That's not default behavior.
Well, for video recordings, if you turn on the recording capability, you can have that set as a default. If he's talking about telephony capabilities, that's immediately outside of my scope of expertise.
Are you suggesting you don't answer telephony questions, Christian?
Sean, none of us do. Fess up. Come on.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so, one, I don't know if that policy, if you set it for video, if that's records kind of all of those communications, if you have that set up.
Yeah. So Teams doesn't just send around transcripts unless something is turned on. At least to my knowledge. Am I out of line on this, guys?
I don't think you are. I mean, I don't see any reason why I would. By default. I mean, why would it advertise those?
Michael, I would probably approach your admins and ask them why you're seeing that behavior.
Well, it's policy based. So
okay, approach your admins and ask them which policies they turned on to make that happen.
Yeah, I'm just looking at. So I've got it here. Yeah, there's a link here. Let me grab this link. So this is a a link to there's an article out on Docs, Introduction to Teams Policy-Based Recording for Callings and Meetings. And that goes in and defines that. So if there's something turned on at an organizational level or the team level, or that you've made the user has opted in or opted out of something prior to that. I mean, again, none of us are familiar with the telephony side of that. I'm looking. Yeah.
Recording specific interactions such as handling incoming call routing, changing recording states.
Yeah, so I'd have to dig a little bit to find this out, but I mean that link is a place to start. I think you're going to find the answer there if that's turned on. Because honestly, I don't have the telephony portion. I don't have that enabled for my license. I don't use that as my primary phone, and so I would assume that recording video meetings and phone calls are two separate policies. I don't believe that would be a single policy set, but I'd have to go dig through to find the exact link.
Your link, the one that you shared, should be sufficient to get to any other point via one jump or so. So.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah, Michael, it's, if you think about it, Teams, it's not default behavior. It's something that's got to be enabled, be it via policy or something else. If you think about, all the different use cases for Teams, anybody who has any sensitive data, compliance and associated regulations, certifications they got to meet, that the dissemination of the information automatically is not something that would typically happen. Why are you highlighting these?
Just waiting to see you say something there. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're trying to shut me up. You're trying to silence
I'm not. Me. What is that brightly colored T-shirt you're wearing this morning, by the way?
I was just gonna say, this might happen to
you. Have you worn that one before? I like that one. I know I've seen it before. But,
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think I've worn it on this show. I wore my Donut King one, I think, but
yeah, I don't have any new T-shirts going on. This is I think you guys have seen this one before. It's the Stab Rabbit.
Yeah, we've seen it. Yeah.
From that collection. I love that collection.
Mike's jaded. He's like, come on, get a new gig, Christian.
Yeah.
Well, I'm one to talk. I mean, I haven't worn a new T-shirt. I'm wearing the Minecraft, actually the Minecraft printed pullover from Microsoft.
Ah, nice.
They have one of those?
What's actually 3D printed Minecraft one? Yeah, you can't see it in dark.
I could see it just a little.
Yeah, it's more visible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I picked that up at a summit in Redmond at the store.
Very cool. As a Minecraft player, I can certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, my kids loved it. I was like, you can't have one. Nah.
Mean dad.
Well, question number 2 is another telephony one we may not be able to answer, but this is just I included it just because this is something that we've all experienced a version of. Kara says, I have a user who, when receiving a call in Teams, it rings first on the laptop computer, and then about a minute later, the mobile phone Teams app rings. The concern is that if she is away from her laptop and needs to answer the incoming call, the delay will cause her to miss the call. Any thoughts on why this is happening?
Signed in multiple places.
Well,
something like
It,
that.
but I think the issue is a delay. I mean, if it were ringing and calling
Yeah.
in and being in most places immediately, like I don't know if she's exaggerating on a minute late. Like, did you answer it? And while you're in the call, a minute later, it like a full minute, it rings on the phone. That would be a problem.
That would be a problem. As far as I think, from my take on that would be simply that when the alert comes in, it doesn't hit both devices at the same time. And that, at least for me, is ridiculously common on things like calendar items and any form of alert that if I've got two apps open that's going to have the same alert, or if I have multiple devices, for example, I've got Outlook on the phone. If I get a new message in Outlook, it's going to ring in both places, and it never rings exactly the same time, ever. So I don't know how to answer that other than,
Well, the team, does the team app use SMS calling or what? I don't use the mobile aspect of it. Is it using SMS or what is it using? Don't know.
Before
No
that,
idea.
yeah, on the again, I maybe we should
Christian, what's the answer?
maybe we should go read up on the telephony capabilities and be able to answer some of those basic questions.
Maybe people should just realize we don't know jack about the telephony capabilities. And
If the
stop
guy
asking
putting
questions
together
about
the
it.
questions would just acknowledge this. I mean,
Well, and so we can say this with all honesty, Kara, we appreciate the problem you're experiencing, and good luck.
we, we empathize.
Yeah.
I think the biggest aspect of this question that remains completely unknown is how is that delay in ringing experienced from the calling end. I know that when I've called people before using Teams. Well, no, I can't even say that. But I was going to say, it used to be when we just had standard Bell landlines and we're calling around and we'd go to voicemail, 4 rings and you'd get a voicemail or something like that. Nowadays, I mean, things can ring what seems like indefinitely before they go to voicemail. People have screening services like, you can. I don't think Microsoft has the equivalent of like the Google Assistant that will screen a call prior to passing it through to you. But there are different services that introduce delays. We need to.
I can't imagine you would sit there as a caller and have a minute delay.
No,
And it would continue ringing,
but
on your end.
But I
It'd be
believe there's
like,
call forwarding. I mean, that would if you don't pick up in one location and then it pushes over to the next device. But
but to Sean's point, I mean, what is the caller actually hearing? Because, I mean, it's going to ring, and then is it just ring, 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 even though it's not ringing anywhere else? I mean, the person calling hears the ring on their end, but it's not actually ringing anywhere.
Yeah.
For that minute of time, I don't know.
Well, so there's a couple different things. I mean, there was a problem a couple years ago that Teams had where you would actually answer it, and there'd be a 3 to 10 second delay. Sometimes 10 seconds is a long time before it would actually
the creepy
connect.
stalker bug.
Right, and so I mean, I remember that experience, and on a Teams phone, so I had actually a device in office space that it wasn't mine, but it experienced this where I thought it was like it's like when you get a phone call for a scammer or something. There's the delay that happens while they connect from the other system. There's that kind of, so where you're going, hello, hello, hello. 3 seconds later, it's like, hello, can I speak to Mr. Christian Buckley? And I just hang up at that point, So you had a bit of that experience. But this we're talking about is more akin to like back in the Skype days, where it'd ring in both locations, and it might be a delay between them, but you'd answer one, the other would keep ringing. I mean, there's been those kinds of issues. So I think this is different, whether it's the call forwarding if she's talking about picking it up and then it still rings, and if she answers that, it's a connection into her call, and so she's got a two phones into the same call. I mean, that'd be a question, like, what is the actual user experience? Because that might be different things.
Yeah.
So it could be a lot of things. This is another one of those great examples where having an immediate follow-up question might help us clarify a possible solution. Not that we have a solution.
Yeah.
Do we have any kind of disclaimer on this show that says, hey, sometimes you just don't know Jack, and, we're not trying to BS anybody, but sometimes
I think we need one, Mike.
we just don't.
Should I should have a slide that puts a disclaimer so I could go to screen at this point? I'll have to build one. Okay, that's my homework.
Don't have a slide. Just have a lower third crawl. Just have it continuously crawl.
I'll build
like
something.
A stock picker.
Yeah. These guys don't know, a lot of what they talk about, and take it with a grain of salt. Everything that they say. Christian is never funny, and just, stuff like that. Just throw it on a crawl.
But I have a full head of hair.
That'll keep people entertained, at least. I mean,
we cannot recommend trying these items and suggestions of your tenant. But...
what I needed to go take is like the what is the MTV, those crazy guys that did all the stupid stuff, the
what?
Jackass.
Yeah, the Jackass guys. So I needed to take their disclaimer.
Oh, Johnny Knoxville.
That's right.
Oh boy.
And Sean is the Johnny Knoxville. I'm more of the Steve-O character.
Okay.
I don't even know if I should be offended. I didn't watch that. So, Kara, one last thing, Kara.
I see more Beavis and Butthead than I see Johnny Knoxville.
Not gonna argue with that.
Yeah.
So, Kara, the nice thing is, with this sort of situation, you and your friend should probably just set up a test. Call her and, see what happens when it rings that long, if it hangs up on you, if you can get her, that sort of thing. Short of, a professional answer from a bunch of telephony knowledgeable folks, which we clearly are not.
Telephony challenged.
Nope.
Yeah. Sean is all business, man.
That's right.
Right back to it. So
I've just got this customer service mindset. I help it.
Well, number 3 is another Teams question. We've kind of addressed this last week and the week before. We get a version of this. Brian is saying, is there a way, this is again Microsoft Teams, is there a way to delete a student's reply on a team post if it is questionable? So do you guys remember the answer to this
is there
one?
a way to delete a student's reply? No. Not that I'm aware of.
If you have permissions in the channel.
The admin, the admin has the ability to go in and do that. So if the teacher is not set up as the admin for the team, then only the person who creates that. It could also, you could have the policy that even the students don't have the ability to delete their responses, and only the admin can do that. But it's either the admin and the user, or just the admin that can delete those messages. But you as the teacher, if you don't have the admin rights, you can delete
self-incrimination policy.
Because I think it was last week we were talking about this, where somebody saying, "Well, I deleted my initial post, but I see everybody's responses are still there." It's like, right, because that's their comment, so they have that control. So Brian, go get admin rights. Then yes,
that fixes many things.
Yep.
And creates other problems.
It's back in the SharePoint days, everything came down to a permissions issue. Yeah.
Yeah, Eric Harlan is he's the one I recall saying, 9 out of 10 SharePoint problems are permissions. And the other one is permissions too, until you just don't realize it yet.
Yeah. Or I like my answer to most problems is like, user errors just suck, don't they? People's like, I don't know how to do this. It's like, well, yeah. It's hard. Learning is hard. Number 4, Tarek says, is there any possibility to prevent global admins of looking into all users' OneDrive folders and SharePoint document libraries?
Technically, no, but there's a longer answer here.
What's the?
I believe we've gone through this before. So SharePoint operates, and because we're talking about OneDrive, that is SharePoint based. SharePoint operates on a clear separation of duties. By default, roles are segregated. Admins, by default, have no access to content in SharePoint. However, they do have the capability to grant themselves rights or to set up policies that will give them access to that content. So you can't prevent admins from looking if they set up a policy to do that for themselves. And you might say, well, what would stop every admin from doing that? The answer is, logs and traces of people's activity. I mean, it's like any admin in any system. If they grant themselves rights, it should create an event that gets reviewed by some group. But in this case, especially with SharePoint, it starts out with admins do not have rights to any SharePoint content and site collections. This is one of the old problems from on-prem as well. People would think that, the admins could just go into any old site collection and do whatever they want. Not unless they set up, for instance, a web application policy that gave them full control over all of the sites in the web app. So,
well, even with the compliance capabilities, be them go and do like an e-discovery and legal hold an e-discovery. It's not like you can go into a person in this profile and I'm going to look through A through Z, all of their chats, all of their content, and things like that. No, it's search based. It has to be contextual to that request. They do have access to those libraries, that content through that scenario. But it's not.
Right.
It's not like they're just reading. They're following your keystrokes and reading through your content.
The keylogger isn't standard equipment?
No. If you want that experience, let me share a link that you can click. Provide your credit card information.
Now, Tarek, I have worked with some organizations that when they're setting up things like OneDrives, they'll provision them through PowerShell to get things set up, and they will add an administrative ID as an owner, an admin for each user's OneDrive content, because they want to, well, presumably they want to do something nefarious and read all your information, but there are other reasons.
Well, I mean, I've always seen it where when the hierarchy is set up, it's all set up over, what Active Directory already has in it from a organizational standpoint. This manager is in charge of these, this person. Inside of that person's AAD object is their manager name, and that all flows, it flows down. So, I mean, when you're talking about organizations that have literally thousands of users, that can get pretty messy if you're going in and trying to assign individual permissions to each user's, OneDrive or SharePoint list or whatever. I mean, that's just, if you want to waste your time doing that, or I should say, if you want to use your time doing that, I mean, feel free.
So guys, just a thought here. Sorry, I know, Sean, you saw me smirking. You're thinking, what's he doing next? I know.
Yeah.
What do you call multiple OneDrives? Do you call them some drives?
Many drives.
Many drives? If you have 1 million of them, is it a Google Drive?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so yeah, I've graduated from dad jokes to granddad jokes, so you've got to give me, leeway here.
Is that what we're calling it? Graduation?
Monday after a 4-day holiday, and the humor is just
Scraping rock
All
bottom.
right, thank you. Feeling the love. All right, number 5. Charlene asks, anyone know of a way to have Outlook statistics? For example, how many emails received sent by such person? I imagine there must be an extension. I can't find anything.
Hal?
Analytics. That's
Yes.
one thing. There's a number of, I mean, if you get to the admin center for Exchange, there's all sorts of things you can use. But as far as from a client standpoint, I believe E3 and above get analytics.
Isn't analytics the feature, though, that has to be enabled by a 365 account? I mean, you can't
I'm
run
not sure.
run just the analytics against a POP3,
No.
or an IMAP.
No.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yep.
So
Yeah, so you'd have to, but yeah, you'd get E3, E5 has that access. The productivity score provides some detail there for the admins. A lot of that capability to be able to see the granular data, the admin has to turn it on. I'm not sure if it's on or off for the granular collection of data for the productivity score by default. I believe it's off by default.
Off.
Yeah, by default. And then, of course, if you're looking for something that's more granular, there are third-party solutions. We're all friends with the tyGraph team, and they provide deep data into all the logs across all of that in a nice little dashboard through their solution. And if you've not taken a look at it, this will be my quick plug. Yes, they're a sponsor of a bunch of stuff that I do, and I've got a banner ad on my blog for them, but it's a great solution. But they have their the tyGraph Pulse, which you can go and do for 14 days for free, and it will go and pull 26 days of data, including Outlook, and allow you to start to dig into some of that data. So definitely want to go look at that tygraph.com, and I think the try now and it's like connect my data, and you can sign up for Pulse. It's a great tool.
So I'd like to correct something. As you said, we're all friends with tyGraph. tyGraph, I don't know tyGraph.
Yeah.
tyGraph doesn't know me. And if they
Are you
want
sure about
Last time I was talking with
Yeah.
tyGraph, Mike, we were chatting about you, and I know that you guys have had kind of a, like a tiff going on because they didn't show up at your birthday. Like they said that they
send me
were.
swag. They didn't send me swag. That's all I ask is swag. I mean, if they're gonna sponsor us, like you keep doing plugs, they gotta put out. They gotta, they.
Mike's the cheap date of the group. Yeah, Swag will do it.
Mike, not everybody can afford to sponsor this show. I mean, it's, so.
How expensive is this show, Christian?
And that's why all of our sponsors are like billion-dollar corporations, because that's all they can afford it. So yeah. All right. Number 6, Vincent. Can I use Sway as a website? If yes, how to publish it in DNS?
Why?
Well, I mean, that's a different question. So let's talk mechanics first. I mean, it's not supposed to be used for that.
It's not.
So I don't know how you would publish it other than have it hosted and have have it mapped to that hosted location, whatever you're going to call that.
I mean, I could see why they are asking this question, because they probably created something really cool in Sway for a PowerPoint presentation.
Yep.
And they're like, hey, this would be an awesome website. A landing page for a website. So you can take that image and make it a landing page. But I mean, you can't, it's an image. It's not like an HTML document. It's not, something you can put out on a website. It's not a JavaScript. It's not anything like that. So, I mean, if you want to take a picture of it, capture it, use it as a home page, more power to you. But I'm just not seeing any logical reason that you would have the ability to take something that's made in Sway and make it into a website?
Mm-hmm.
I've never used Sway.
Yeah, for folks that aren't familiar with Sway, Sway was one of the it was greenlit, fast tracked into the Office suite, but it's essentially it's like having a web page. It's a dynamic PowerPoint, an interactive PowerPoint that allows you to you can build an ebook on it. You can build training, and so as you move people through, they can interact. You could have polls and videos built right into the content. And so it's a great presentation software.
Yeah,
And when you
and it's presentation software, but it was really focused on. Initially, it was focused on people creating these interactive presentations, but it got to a point where people were like, I understand we're doing the interactive presentations, but it's more for a kiosk, right? It's more for somebody walking up to a computer,
a self-service type thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, and for people that are not familiar with it, so essentially when you build all that content, you save it like you would a Word doc or PDF or a PowerPoint. You save it, and depending on where you save it to, like into SharePoint or onto your OneDrive, and you can post it out. I think you could actually, so you used to be able to save it out to a bunch of Microsoft sites. I think you could save them a Sway out to SlideShare, because Microsoft owns SlideShare now. But anyway, so you could save it to a few places and then send people the URL to the Sway. And so they would click on it and open up right into it. So this person's asking, well, why can't I make that? Can I map that? Because you can map your DNS. You could just map it over to that link. Why wouldn't you be able to do that? Then it's essentially your website.
Well, and I have to tell you that I'm looking, and Sean, I think you just posted that link, but there's a document out there about creating a Sway site. It's hosted in Microsoft.
Okay.
Yeah.
The link I shared was support. It would literally share your Sway. So.
But it says you can enable a Sway in a web page. So that's what they were talking about, is you can embed a Sway in a web page. So you can take a Sway and embed it inside of a web page. And then you can have it, have the presentation auto advance, and the Sway actually, do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, the sharing tools, you can get an embed code, which I'm going to assume gives you an iframe reference. So you just drop it in your site, and effectively your site becomes a mini portal out to Sway. Little teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Iframes.
Well, this just kind of reminded me, seeing this question, and so I did a blog post a couple of years ago, but about using the Windows 10 version of OneNote, where you could actually embed that as an iframe in a blog post out on WordPress or wherever. And so I was doing something where I was making dozens of changes inside of a day and was going in and updating WordPress. And I'm like, that's just annoying. Well, it wasn't pretty. You had all the garbage, the framing and stuff around it. But I could then just go and update this list. And, it would do it in real time. It was a cool little hack solution for that need.
Did you have you had the two little guys standing next to that barrier?
Do the construction?
Their construction hats on, and said
always on that,
One's with a hammer sitting there going like this.
That's what I've got that on my website, which is going to be completed by Christmas of 2017. Yeah.
We didn't answer the second part of his question, by the way.
Yeah. If yes, how to publish it in DNS?
Not necessary with this embed.
Yeah.
You don't want to get into. You would not want to start making DNS changes specifically for a Sway, if it even were possible.
Yeah. All right. Hey, question number 7 is from one of our team favorites, Julie.
who never came
Who
on the
still
show.
hasn't come on the show.
Yeah. I know. I think she's being shy here. So she needs help with PowerAutomate.
We're
I think
all
Christian's
hurt,
scared,
Julie.
Yeah. We have documents in a SharePoint library and use the request sign-off feature to get approvals. For one user, she is sending the request, and it only sometimes appears in her sent flows. The approver receives the email and approves, but my requesting user does not receive a notification it's been approved. When we check in her MyFlows, once it's approved, it disappears from her sent and does not show up in her history. Anyone else experience this or know where I should start to troubleshoot?
I don't even know how request sign off is implemented. Is it a flow that they've bolted in? Well, it would seem to it would have to be if they're seeing traces of this going through flows, but I've never looked at how that flow is implemented, so I would have to do that. Sounds like I got homework.
You wanted to?
Yeah, and this actually, I mean, if we could approach one of the folks that we had at the summit in Missouri, the folks that are really smart about PowerAutomate. At least the 2 sessions that I had, these folks were really smart about it. Maybe they would have an answer right away. I don't know.
Yeah, but barring that, I'll go research it and.
Okay. Oh, I completely forgot. Let me see if Sherry had a partial response.
Shortcut
to that.
Sherry.
Yes. No, she had no feedback to that one.
Strike one, Sherry.
Yeah. No, she had responses to every one of the previous questions.
Except.
Yeah, but then not this one. So, yeah,
It's almost like she knew.
Yeah. Yeah. And her response to Vincent with the sway was same as my answer, which was just a redirect. All right. So, number 8. So, Sean, you'll take that on, and maybe if I know that Sharon also had the email, maybe she might respond with an answer to that as well.
Yeah, if somebody's got the, direct knowledge, that's going to definitely exceed what I can do. But I, at least for my own purposes, need to research this a little bit. So I'll at least, look into the basics of it.
All right. Atish asks, and this one has a visual, gentlemen. Not able to sign into my Office 365 Admin or Azure or any other app as it is not displaying Mobile Authenticator page. The page is broken. Any idea?
Not right offhand. I just checked it and it works just fine here.
I mean, I see that they're using they're using the Brave browser. So on a mobile phone, and I don't know. I don't use Brave. I don't know if you guys do, but
I have.
I've never been.
Yeah, I have. So it's big with the crypto crowd. And one of the reasons I don't use it is because half the sites I want to go visit,
standard stuff doesn't work. Yeah, third-party cookies and all that sort of stuff.
So that would be my response as well. Is it may not work with the browser you're trying to access via. I mean, I'm still dealing with the issue now where I've largely made the switch over to Edge Chromium, and so
even on mobile.
I'm sorry.
Even on mobile.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think they're talking mobile, right? This questions are on mobile.
The mobile authenticator, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I'm kind of stretching the topic, Mike. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just saying that I have so I'm making this switch over, and so a lot of using Chrome over to Edge, and so my default experience in opening up a link on the desktop is via new Edge browser, and yet I have a lot of things that it won't open because my passwords or whatever cookies are tied to the other browser, and it's just I've tried to go and I'm having to still clean some of that up and almost like starting anew. And so it could be that there needs to be some other approval, some cleanup through the mobile browser through Brave, or it might be that it just doesn't work, that the Brave browser specifically, which is very strict on security, on the policies, and for whatever reason is not allowing this link to work.
I would ask whether, maybe they want to consider using the Azure app, the actual mobile app for Azure and the mobile app for 365 Admin.
Yeah.
So I use those, and I don't have a problem. So.
Yeah. In fact, they're pretty seamless experiences.
That's by default is your if you're a mobile device and there's an app for it, why would you access that feature, that product via a browser? Use the native application if there's one.
Yeah, personal preference. Some folks just don't like to use native apps. I mean, they want everything in a browser. So.
And then they get this result. So good for them.
So there.
Stick with your principles, sir. And good luck to you.
Boy, we are making friends here.
I don't know if anybody else caught what was on the day after Thanksgiving on Friday on AMC. In the morning, they replayed 2 or 3 times in a row. The three Amigos.
Oh.
It was. Oh, man.
I didn't see that. I was, since 3 a.m. on Friday, I was standing in front of Best Buy. So,
Are you really?
No. No. But that is a classic. We're discussing some of the classic holiday movies and what did we want to go and see, and I think my daughter asked, like, what's when you think of Thanksgiving, what movie do you think of first? And I said the first thing that I thought of, and it wasn't so much
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
exactly. Yep, that was my number one. Was that Thanksgiving, or was that Christmas?
No, that was Thanksgiving.
Okay.
It was between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Okay.
It was they were traveling that.
Yeah. So that was the first thing that I thought of too. And there's like, is it what else is at Thanksgiving here here in the U.S.? I mean, big deal, but any other movies that stand out?
Isn't there something? It's a Thanksgiving turkey, Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Never a big
The
Charlie
Wizard
Brown
of Oz
fan.
is always this time of year too.
So what top 3 Christmas or holiday season movies for you guys?
National Lampoon Christmas Vacation, without a doubt.
That's great.
Yep.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's an old one, Mr. Grinch.
Yeah. It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah,
Gotcha. We watched one Friday night, which has become a family tradition. Have you guys seen Arthur Christmas?
Yep.
No.
Sure have.
Yeah, definitely check it out. I got it on the Plex, Christian.
Okay.
It's
My kids loved
definitely got some
Arthur,
humor.
and
It's not Arthur.
It's not. No. Yeah. Explain it.
It's an animated flick. I think it's DreamWorks,
Yeah.
but it's about modern Santa, and Arthur is a guy who. Now my wife's standing in here. Oh boy, and she jumps into the quotes. It is definitely quotable. But yeah, it's the story about one child who gets missed, and this one of the descendants of the Clauses, the young Santa Claus, his quest to get her present before she wakes up in the morning, and it deals all about IT and Christmas and logistics, and it gets ludicrous into the topic, and it's hilarious.
What is that called again?
Arthur Christmas.
Christmas. The one movie that my wife and my sons, we always watch multiple times during the Christmas season, because I think it's just a fantastic movie, is Polar Express. And we'll all watch that, and we're all glued to the set. It's like one everyone likes.
Yeah.
So.
With us, we can't agree. The 6 of us, we don't agree. But I would say, so It's a Wonderful Life. I just love that more than any movie, Christmas movie. Love that. A more modern favorite that I absolutely love is Elf. And then there's one I think just is, I'm surprised none of you have brought this up, but it's an important Christmas time movie, family movie, Die Hard.
Yeah, well, my son would agree with you, but he would pick out Bad Santa before that.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
My personal favorite, and I think this is on the Plex too, The Ref.
yeah.
I haven't seen The Ref.
Oh, The Ref, it's an older one, but Dennis Leary is the main character. And boy, he plays a thief out on Christmas Eve, and he's trying to hide from the cops. And he ends up with this one utterly, disastrously dysfunctional family. And he is in his full grandeur in The Ref, so you need to see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your husband's not dead, lady. He's in hiding.
I just thought it's funny that, and Jay, just as I said Die Hard, he said a dozen movies in, and no one mentions Die Hard, and then I answer that. So
You have a kindred spirit.
yeah, that's it's an important Christmas movie. It's all about family, Sean. All right, so number 9.
Dysfunctional.
El Bohali Jamal says, during the meeting teams, the start recording button is grayed out. Do you know why? So we have talked about this other times.
Many
Watch
times.
episode 36, 35, 34, 33, and 32, I think.
Yeah, it's it could be 1 because it's not enabled. 2, if you are in a meeting that is not your default tenant, if you're a guest, you may not have that. You won't have that capability. And then what we were experiencing, what we've talked about in past weeks, is that there was an upgrade happening to Teams, and even though it was supposed to be enabled, it disappeared entirely off the menu or was grayed out. And
Along with a bunch of other aspects and features in the interface, it went belly up.
And it was just
for
a
while.
matter of restarting the meeting. So like I started a new meeting, I was doing an interview, was trying to record it. The option wasn't even there. Restarted, left it, joined it again. It was there but grayed out. And this is me on my E5 tenant with, as the admin, as the creator of the meeting. I'm in the right place. It was just gone and then grayed out.
He lacked the privileges.
That's right. I'm not, it's a first world problem to not be able to get into my team site. And
Are we going to not suggest the Mike Nelson full reinstall?
That's right. Yep.
Hey, it works.
Yeah, in that case, I mean,
But
and it could be other reasons why it's a finicky thing. The stars have to align.
in theory, 9 out of 10 times, it should be permissions issue. That it's like you don't have the right permissions for it on that location where that meeting is for the site. But so check that. Make sure that you should have the ability. Number 10, Theo says, I have a SharePoint site that collaborates with users. So SharePoint is out collaborating on its own. People are not involved. I'm just
Who knew?
literally reading. So I have a
It
SharePoint
evolved.
site that collaborates with users from multiple organizations. I use Active Directory groups to manage those connections, i.e. login authenticates against the organization's AD. In 2 of those groups, I have exactly 1 user each who can't get in. I can look them up and invite them to my site via the AD group. The person receives the invitation, clicks on it, and gets a permissions error. Within those 2 groups, everyone else has accepted the invite and can log in without problems. What could be the problem? We've tried clearing the cache and cookies multiple times. Also multiple browsers. Please and thanks.
One user who can't get in. Well, my first question would be, is it the same user each time?
Is that user expendable? Do you really need to have them there?
What if you created a new user and another user, does it exhibit the same trait, or is it always specific to that one user?
Statistically, you're very successful, though. Just the one user that you have the problems for. No, I'm sorry. I'll let you guys get back into actually helping the person with the issue.
Oh, I forgot what we're supposed to do. Have you tried reissuing? I'm assuming so, since you've tried to clear cache and cookies multiple times and tried different browsers. You've also tried to drop and re-add them. It sounds like these are external users because those users are authenticating to that organization's AD. So the process of getting a user wired through and made an external user in your tenant, have you tried granting them? Have you tried adding them to your Active Directory directly as an external user and then issuing the invitation? Just in other words, do these users have access to anything else in your organization, or is the act of sharing a site their first point of entry into your systems, and it's going through that whole workflow associated with adding the user to your Active Directory? If that's the case, I would try adding them directly as external users into your AD, and then issuing the sharing request or the site access. Other than that, I'm not sure. The fact that it happens to two of those groups, exactly one user. If it's the same user, focus probably your troubleshooting on what's unique about that user object.
Yeah, I get
But
I
if it's-
just kind of read it as different people in each of those groups, not the same user, but yeah.
Yeah, so there's more than one way to skin a cat, and if you can't get them in directly with a sharing request, add them to AD and then try to share it. Like Mike said, try with different user objects or new user objects.
Okay. All right. Number 11. Skotos. I have a SharePoint site, OneDrive, that was deleted more than 30 days. I was trying to restore it back, but having restore SPO deleted site, a site collection with the same site ID or path already exists. I did delete the current site, no data in it, then try to restore again, but it always restores the one with the no data in it.
You're going to have to call support. So if you've created two sites at the same path and you're trying to select which of them you restore back, you're going to need support's help with that, because what you're encountering is, I believe, default and expected behavior, which is the most recently deleted one is going to be restored back at that path. You have no way to select the older one, so this is where you get support in to help you.
Yeah, they should be able to go back in that scenario.
Yeah, it's the event receiver that ends up that I remember back when Bill Baer was first presenting on this, the site delete capture. It should still have that deleted more than 30 days ago. Okay, well, if it's more than 30 days, that's the default retention period for first stage recycle bin. But sites are going to go to second stage, and typically data doesn't get forced out of second stage until there's storage pressure to start deleting things, or a policy set up to manually push things out after a certain period of time. I don't know what SharePoint Online has implemented on the back end for policies for deleted data and how long that's kept around. But either way, everything we're saying here points to contact support. Tell them what happened and what you're seeing, that you've got two deleted sites at the same path or URL and path, and that you need the first one that was deleted back and see what they say to that. That stinks.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be great to have that as part of that experience. If you had more of the, like you do with data, with files, have the history and be able to do that. But that's another reason why some organizations insist on having a third-party backup solution. So you have that more granular control. That would also solve this problem.
Yeah, and there are plenty of third-party solutions out there. Which ones sponsor us, Christian?
Today?
Yeah. Who put their money down first?
Nobody put their money down. Nobody pays to sponsor this, Sean. What are you talking about?
That we know of, Sean. We don't know what he's getting under the table.
Excellent point, Mike.
We don't know what he's getting under the table.
That's right.
No idea.
That's right. You think it's free for me to travel all the way upstairs from my basement? No, that's a funded effort. I have, just to leave my office, I have to wear a jacket that has logos, has patches on it, and just in case somebody, like namely myself, does a photo, a selfie or something, I have to be properly branded. I can't be seen in public, much less without having something paid for. I won't do it. Yeah.
But you never take those selfies.
No, of course not.
You're such an influencer.
Well, except with my kids, yes.
When are you going to start making TikToks?
If you ever see a TikTok by me, Mike, then you know my system has been hacked. Yeah, I've considered a few different things. What? Oh, is this Sean? Is this an official package opening live?
No.
Oh.
But speaking of influencers, look what the folks at Synology just sent me.
A box. Wow.
A box with the label on it.
There's a NAS in this box. They sent it for me. They sent it to me so I could play with it.
Sean, if you're gonna pull out a NAS, you got to have a NAS for everyone. It's only fair.
So you're selling out to the man. You're selling out to.
I haven't sold anything.
I'll tell you, I've been for a couple of years now. I've been asking for one of those giant Surface devices, those wall mount giant things. I told Microsoft I would blog about it 3 or 4 times minimum, and nothing. They won't send me a free one. I don't know what's going on.
I'm thinking there's one too many zeros at the end of that, but that's just me.
Come on. Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
That's fantastic.
On the live stream, people can't see it because I'm on the tiny screen down below. But
Do you know
don't you know who I am? All right, number 12. Matt asks, anyone know what causes this error?
A problem.
So he's got. That's right. So you notice it's back in the telephony area. So it's in team settings under calls. It says an error occurred while saving. Pretty useless message as usual because it doesn't tell you if it saved or not or how to resolve. Well, welcome to the world of Microsoft error messages, where it doesn't tell you exactly what it is that's gone wrong, where to go, how to deal with it.
But this goes above and beyond and tells you what it was trying to actually do.
Yeah.
It was trying to save.
Yeah.
That is an order of magnitude more information than an unexpected error has occurred.
Yeah.
You want to take this to another level is you actually get that error message and then you go out and go back in and find out that it actually did save.
Yeah.
Right. From this screen, I don't know what it was that was trying to be saved. Is it call answering rules? Is it voicemail?
Forward my calls.
Looks like.
Oh, okay. Forward my calls. And it wouldn't save that. So.
Because it says forward 2 + 1.
Oh, yeah.
But nothing else.
So it could be because
Yeah.
it doesn't have, yeah. So if it's, maybe he entered the phone number and hit save, and then it gets this error message and removes the phone number. That might be part of the screen, but yeah, if you don't enter your phone
We're
number,
assuming a lot.
I
Yeah.
I want to assume that people are, filling out the correct boxes within the screen before hitting save.
Big assumption.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I'm sure Matt, if he were listening to it right now, would be screaming at his screen.
Yeah.
No, you guys, you're
Oh,
stupid.
no.
You don't know telephony. Exactly.
He's saying things worse than that.
So assuming that he
Probably.
tried to
Oh.
set up his call answering rules in Teams, selected forward my calls, entered in the phone number, like his mobile device to be forwarded, and hit save, and it rejected that. And it could be, so again, we're talking about telephony, so none of us know. Sorry, guys, I'm going to stop adding these telephony questions. But, whether an admin disabled some of the capabilities, that could be one reason why. So check with your admin to find out if the feature's enabled, if it's even available.
Can you pre-screen those for us, Christian?
Mike,
It's almost like they were adding willy-nilly.
Mike, these are pre-screened. Yeah.
So you did this intentionally.
Now, this is like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, no, I think what happened here, guys, is I had two weeks, so we had some carryover. So I had, we've had 3 here, but one I thought we could legitimately possibly answer. But the other 2 were my joke telephony questions.
Oh, the joke.
Yeah.
But
now, yeah. All right, let's move on. We'll rise above it. We're professionals.
Too late.
Yeah.
Number 13, Sperry says, Microsoft Teams links were converting to files in post, but now it has stopped. You're welcome. Problem solved. So here's the issue. For the past day or so, when I would copy a link URL into a team post or chat, Teams was converting that link into a nice, neat file icon and occasionally even posting a file icon in the Files tab. I was very excited about this development as it was incredibly useful and visually pleasing, and now it is gone. Now when I post a link URL, it remains a link URL, and I don't know why the functionality showed up or why it went away, but I would love to have it back. Did anyone else experience this?
I've never, when I get one, when I post one and I see the little icon that he's mentioning here, I believe it's him or her is mentioning here. Sometimes when I post one that's like a GitHub repo and it goes, 5, 6, 7, 10 layers deep, and it has a GUID and everything. Sometimes that URL doesn't render, to an icon or to an image. But it's been I've seen it even in Slack, outside of Teams. I've seen the same type of scenario happen in Slack. I would ask if it's actually happening to the same one that used to work. If he takes that URL and he puts it again,
Yeah.
now it doesn't work. It did work, but now it doesn't.
That's what
work,
it sounds
or is
like.
it a different URL.
But the thing I'm confused about, because when you post a URL into there, so it will convert the URL into the title, the text of the link, and provide
if it can resolve
it. But he's talking about, is that what he's saying? Is that it was converting that into a nice file icon?
Well, you get the fave icon from the website.
Yeah.
You get that little fave icon, but then you also get a little blurb. So like an image,
Right.
just like
Yeah.
you see in our chat right now. You're looking at our chat,
Yeah.
you see those little, titles and blurbs.
So I get that. I just want to make sure that that's how you guys are interpreting what he's describing.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is the part 2 to that, where he says it would also show up in the Files tab.
Oh, I've never posted. I don't know. Let's
Yeah,
try
so
it.
if you post it in the chat and it shows up in Files, the first thing I thought of was the new OneDrive capability, where you're able to create the quick links to, nav links to things. But that's not a Teams feature. So the only thing I can think of, and I mean, it's not the best answer to have, but again, this could be a case where there was some experiment that went to the wrong build, it went external rather than internal dogfooding for Microsoft, and they tested something else and pulled it back. That happens sometimes. It shouldn't happen on production environments, but it does happen occasionally.
Yeah, flighted a feature set and then rolled it back.
I don't understand that. If you're in a chat and posting a link, what does any of that have to do with files? Why would anything show up in files?
Unless you're posting a link to a file. So if you have a OneDrive link to a file, and what I don't understand is when you have a link to a file, it's not going to show the title. I mean, it's not going to show an image from that file. It's just going to show the link.
Well, that's what he's talking about. It was a cool feature. He really liked it, but now it's gone, and I'm not seeing it, not familiar with it. But maybe it was just something they were trying out, and
maybe the file has metadata. Maybe the file that they were linking to, it could have been an HTML file that has metadata, which may show that. But if you link to an executable or you link to, some other type of file, maybe it doesn't.
Technically, all files have metadata.
Well, but not exposed. Some files don't expose it. So it's not by default.
Yeah.
It's also possible that it's just a different type of link. It could have a different protocol on it. I mean, we're assuming HTTP here, but file:// is a valid URL moniker. So I don't know if that would result in different behavior within Teams versus an HTTP or HTTPS link.
Yep. It's an interesting one. Yeah, that's something. Yeah, I don't know, Sperry, if you have any other details, or if you were able to grab a screenshot at some time, but based on that, it'd be great to have more of a description, and we might be able to go and ask around and see if we can find anything out about that.
Yeah, and what would also help is after you copy the link, open it up in Notepad and paste it, and share that, because what form exactly is that link taking?
Yeah. And Jay just made a comment, says, in some files only have metadata in the file storage system, but can't carry them from source to source. Ask me how I know. Okay, Jay Avpoint Leask. All right, number 14, Roper asks, can you be in multiple Teams meetings at once?
Sure.
Yes.
Multiple devices.
Yeah.
Multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah, but can she physically, or no?
Yeah. It's not the question, can you? It's should you. That's the proper question. Be in multiple. So it's if you have the desktop, you can be in one meeting there, and then you can have multiple browser instances and have different meetings and monitor those.
I think the most that I've been able to get open in one browser pane is 3 different meetings. So that would make a total of like 4 at once.
Yeah. And you can only be on camera unless
that's too many.
Unless you have multiple cameras or the virtual cam set up, because these are single purpose most camera setups, and so you'd only be able to do video in one of those things, and so that's actually one of the reasons why with the pop-out chat capability, if you need to monitor discussions, you're not fully within those meetings, but you can still participate in the chat portions of those things across multiple meetings. So,
which works great if you're moderating or something like that.
Right.
Yep.
It's really difficult though. I mean, I remember when we were doing the summit this year, and I was trying to do 2 Teams meetings at once.
Oh.
At the point, everybody was complaining about if you join with the browser, you can't see the chat. I don't know if you guys remember that. But having those two screens and then I'm in a side room for the the CPM meeting, where the North American MVPs got together, and I had turned my mic on because I was making a comment about something while I have 2 other sessions going on, and they can hear the audio. Those other 2
Yeah,
sessions.
I've had issues. Well,
Mm.
yeah, you turn your mic on in one meeting, in the background you can hear the audio coming from the other meeting through your microphone. It's and that would not be through the microphone. Obviously, it would be some kind of an internal switching arrangement. But nevertheless, you get program audio from one meeting when you're using your microphone in a different one, and it's embarrassing.
I'll just venture the fact that we already have a problem with people that are participating in a single meeting and yet browsing the internet and checking email and doing other things. So,
My son upstairs.
So, to further split your time, it's kind of it's multiple meetings is like the Horcrux of the Teams world. Your soul is split in multiple places, so you're just really living a half life.
Well, it's no different, and I would take it beyond that because.
Wait, beyond the Harry Potter reference? What?
Yeah.
You're going beyond. You're going way out now, Mike.
Sorry, man. No, I mean, when you take it and look at it from work from home, people have had to try to learn this, right? Because they're used to sitting in an office, going to a conference room, and doing one thing, being in a meeting, and not really doing anything else unless they're, have a laptop with them and they're clicking away and they're pissing people off or whatever because they're clicking away while people are talking, things like that. Now they actually have the opportunity because, oh, my camera's off, you can't see me, I could be doing 4 different things and you don't even know. Or and your brain trying to manage that. I try and do it, I admit it, and it's not just with Teams. I try it with, I'll have Zoom, and then I got another customer that uses WebEx. So I got WebEx on one screen, I got Zoom on another screen, I got my email going on over here, and
Yeah. Well, that's why I said it's like, look, technically you can go in and do that. Should you? No.
You drive yourself crazy.
You're not going to have quality participation in any of it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
it's snowing outside.
The multitasking idea is a lie. And people need to, and there's data that we have
That's
out there.
Bold statement.
Yeah, it's just a lie. There's data out there. It's been out there for the last decade, but data that shows that it takes time. In fact, Sue Hanley and I were talking about this last week. It takes so much time to context switch, to halt your brain on one topic and jump over topics. So moving back and forth over the course of the day. And that's why, people who specialize perform so much better than people that are generalists across those different tasks. Is when you're able to really focus in on the context of that and drive the solution, then you can accomplish a lot. It's with the stuff that I do with clients that I work with, multiple clients, and I really try to limit the number of client interactions across multiple clients in a day so I can focus on Monday. My primary activity is with this client. I've got this other thing in the afternoon, but I've got a lunch break in between so I can just kind of reset and prepare myself for that next client. Obviously, this is not always possible. We have to do a lot of other things in personal times, but that's where burnout and stress come from. And what would the world be if we weren't burnout and stressed all the time? In a better place, probably, but who wants that?
Dead.
Yeah, that's right. I just think of death as the big pause. It's the long nap. That's
the big sleep.
Yeah, that's right, the big sleep. It's like a big wet hug. All right.
Why wet?
I don't know. There's a joke.
Yeah.
Back from the 80s, exactly. I think there was a joke. There's some movie where he says, "Oh, drowning is like a big wet hug. It's comforting." It's like, no.
You got Mike going with the head palm here, Christian.
All right, let's move on. Antonello asks, "Hi everyone. On a notebook, I uninstalled Teams because I didn't use it. I need it right now, but when I try to reinstall, a mistake appears. So it's the error, some error message 0 times C 0000007B that prevents me from completing the installation. Do you know how to solve this?
Well, let's see. Let's Google that error code.
Or Bing? Sean, come on.
I like how he called it a mistake and not an error.
Yeah. I know that there was some comment where somebody said, so on Facebook where this is posted, that make sure that it's the right version, 32 versus 64-bit, that could cause a similar issue in the install process.
Well, there's all the top hits are not specific to Teams, but I mean, we
It's
can
probably just specific to the MSI installer. It's probably something with the installer itself and not the
yeah, and the error table. MSIs. MSIs are surprisingly complex things. Any of you guys ever used Orca?
Yeah. I used
No.
to use it by one of my former lives. We were in Oracle a lot because we were doing app installations for virtual desktops.
So there's top 3 links, various scattered suggestions and other links. So
Okay.
it's at least a first attempt at it without more information. What the context is, he's seeing it, what's the installer doing when that mistake appears.
Well,
It's got me saying it now. Error appears.
there's always a log too.
Yeah.
And there's always an installer log with the MSI installer that Microsoft has. It's in your temp folder under local, under local apps, or what is it? App data local, underneath there somewhere, or it's inside of the directory itself, the Teams directory. There's going to be a log for the installer.
Yeah.
From what I'm
Gonna-
seeing here, that error is very common when you're trying to run a 64-bit program on a 32-bit operating system.
Well, sounds like we got solved.
Was solved for one.
Next.
All right.
Yeah.
Number 16. Well, I mean, there's a lot of reading material. I'll provide the links in the blog post as well. Number 16, Lee says, hi, I'm not getting an email notification of each response using forms. The notification is checked, but no email. Anyone, any idea why? So using Microsoft Forms, they've selected the option to get an email response, but they're not getting, because my first question would be, have you received any? Is it that you're only getting some but not, or because could be a different problem if you're getting some but not all, if you're not getting any.
And since these are coming from an automated system, any chance it's in your junk folder or spam or blocked? If so,
oh, go ahead.
have you validated that the actual email was sent? Is the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. One other scenario is where they've signed up for forms with a different email address than that they get their normal email. So check that is set up correctly as well. Yeah, it's I mean, I'd be more concerned. It's like the intermittent problems are the worst. So if you're getting some of them but not all of them, it's almost a worse problem. But I don't know if there's anything else from an admin standpoint for Microsoft Forms that would need to be enabled for Forms as part of the platform. It should there shouldn't be any restrictions that would limit
Pretty
people.
cut and dry. I mean,
Yep. Yeah, there's let me see. Yeah, it looks like. So there's over in answers.microsoft.com. Yeah, if you're using a business Office account, that email should arrive to the Office 365 group email. And then you can follow a group feature and to see that. By other hand, if emails are still not coming, you must verify. So if they're not coming to the group email, so you must verify if some rule or policy are affecting the forms email when they arrive to your mailbox. So it could be that you have some other policy. That's kind of like whether it's going to junk or somewhere else. Maybe in the past, if you've ever had, and I've had this experience with forms, where I had set up a policy on a specific form, but it was kind of grabbing everything up. So I had to go kill that rule, so it wasn't shoving them into a, archived folder in my Outlook for a past project. Additionally, that rule or policy could be created in the EXO Admin Center Exchange Online Admin Center of your tenant, but in that case, you'll have to access that with an admin account or talk with the company administrator. So again, at that admin level, to see if there's a policy that's been set up that's somehow inhibiting your email from Microsoft Forms. But that would be the route. Make sure that, one, locally you don't have an Exchange or Outlook rule set up. Two, if the email is going to that group email account, and if so, you can subscribe to that and be able to see that. Or three, if there's an Exchange admin level restriction for some reason in place that's keeping you from receiving those. Let's see. Final question here, number 17. Abel asks, is it true that we will have to pay for Microsoft Teams from February 2021, even if you are on Office 365? Please share supporting facts. I need official communication. I seem not to find it.
First comment on this is if you need official communication, you're definitely in the wrong
Don't
place.
ask you. We're not official anything.
No.
So officially, from the four of us.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly.
That's even the wrong place to ask. I mean, that should be a support ticket. If you want official communication, you got to open a support ticket.
Yeah, and I don't think you're going to find official communication on this because I never heard of this. I mean, I'm looking at the roadmap, and there's nothing about 2021, any sort of charge or anything happening in February.
But it's also part of 365. Teams is part of your, depending on yourself. I don't know if E1 has it. I think they do, or what do they call it now? E-Basic, whatever they're calling it. But I know E3 and E5 do, for sure. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's anything, I mean, there's no, if you're talking about the free version of Teams, I mean, that's not going to change. That's still, the free version will remain free. There's no change there. I mean, there's always going to be a change over the lifetime of Teams with extracurricular features, new things which are sometimes in E5 or E3 or they could get moved. I mean, Microsoft reserves the right to change the SKUs based on the value that they're providing with the service.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I don't know either what this is about. But if you've got an E license and have Teams, that doesn't change. That's where you're paying for it.
Yeah.
But if you need an official communication, open a ticket with Microsoft.
Yeah. Go talk to people who know. You're welcome. Yeah. Hey, gents, we're out of time. I got a hard fast. I got another meeting to jump into, but I really appreciate your time. Riz never showed up. He said he was going to be late.
No, he didn't.
So
Neither did Sherry.
So apparently, no, Sherry wasn't going to make it today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you said
no, she'll show up
late.
next week. No, she's doing training today. No, but Eric, I think, is probably still working on his hair. It takes time, folks. I mean, come on. You can't rush that.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Yeah. So please continue asking your questions. Send them to us at officehours@collabtalk.com. Otherwise, we'll be back next Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific for episode 38. And the rest of this will be out on buckleyplanet.com later this afternoon. The recording out on YouTube, but I'll have the link list built. And with any of the links that we've shared, that'll also be in the blog post. So you don't have to wade through 90 minutes recording and actually jump to the question that you're interested in. And
Mercifully.
Yeah. And one of our answers or one of our non-answers, and be moderately entertained, maybe. So
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later. Have a great week.
Absolutely.
All right. I guess I need to now jump to back to my music playing, so, and then switch screens here, because that's what I do. Is it going? There we are.
Sweet. Cool. I'm imagining music. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Oh. Catch you later, guys.
See you, Sean.